Hey everyone, welcome back. You know, it's funny, we spend so much time thinking, but how often do we actually think about thinking? Today, we're going deep on something I think we can all relate to our minds.
And not just like how to think better or anything. We're going full-on ancient wisdom here.
Exactly. We're using Tantra to understand this wild ride we call our minds. You know, how it can play tricks on us, right? Maybe find a little more peace in all that mental chatter.
And that's what I love about Tantra, you know? It's so refreshingly straightforward. It doesn't mess around.
Right. No sugarcoating.
It goes straight to the source, to the nature of the mind itself, instead of just slapping on Band-Aids for our problems.
It's like, forget just trying to force yourself to chill out when work gets crazy. Tantra's like, hold on, why are you even creating that stress in the first place?
Yeah. It's like, stop trying to pluck every single leaf out of the rainforest. You got to understand the whole ecosystem.
Okay, love that analogy. So my mind is the rainforest. I'm intrigued. Help me understand this.
So think about it. Our minds are constantly flowing with thoughts, right? Like a river, always moving.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
And here's where it gets interesting. We make this mistake, right? We think all these individual thoughts are one solid thing.
Like my mind is one thing?
Yeah, like there's this separate entity, this mind running the show.
So I actually feel like I have a mind, singular, but you're saying according to Tantra, that's an illusion.
An illusion, precisely. Tilopa, he's this amazing Tantra master, and his work is what we're diving into today. And he uses this great analogy of a crowded street. You know, you see all these people, but is there actually a separate thing that is the crowd above and beyond the people?
I mean, no, not really.
Right, it's the same with our minds. The illusion is that there's this fixed mind, but really, just a bunch of individual thoughts, popping up and doing their thing.
Okay, I can already feel this deep dive shifting how I usually think about things, which I love. But, okay, if it's just thoughts, why do I so often feel like they're totally controlling me?
Because we mistake ourselves for the thoughts.
Instead of
seeing the bigger picture.
Okay, I need that bigger picture. What am I missing?
Okay, picture this. The sky, right? Wide open, limitless, always there. Now, picture clouds moving across that sky. Those clouds, those are your thoughts.
So, according to Tilopa, we are the sky, not the clouds. That is kind of mind-blowing.
Right. It's a total shift in perspective.
It is. But how do I actually experience that difference? Like, knowing this, does that change how I deal with, say, a really stressful thought? How do I not get rained out by that cloud,
That's the thing. When we identify with those clouds, with every single thought that passes through,
we get totally soaked.
Exactly. We get stuck in this never-ending cycle, right? Reacting, worrying, feeling overwhelmed, and we lose sight of something essential. That peace that's always available. That sky-like awareness that's way bigger than anyone thought, no matter how stormy it seems.
Wow. Okay, that makes so much sense. Like, I get caught in a thought storm and I totally forget there's this whole clear, calm sky above it.
Exactly. You nailed it. And this is where things get really interesting because Tantra, it has a very unique and I think helpful way of looking at how we deal with these thought clouds, especially the ones we label as, the bad ones.
Oh, yeah. We all have those. I shouldn't have said that, or what if they don't like me? Thoughts. They can really spiral. So Tantra doesn't really buy into this whole good thought versus bad thought thing.
Not really. It's more about like this radical acceptance. Being loose and natural with our thoughts instead of getting all caught up in those rigid judgments.
I have to admit, that sounds incredibly freeing. But how do you actually live that way? Like, how do I actually do that with my own thoughts?
Okay, so picture this. You're trying to shove a beach ball underwater, right? What happens?
It's going to pop up somewhere else, probably with even more force.
Exactly. It's the same with our thoughts. When we label a thought bad and try to suppress it, we're actually giving it more energy.
It's so true. The more I tell myself not to think about that embarrassing moment, the more it just replays in my head. So if we're not supposed to, shove those thoughts underwater, what do we do with them? How does Tantra approach those bad thoughts?
Tantra offers this really powerful solution. Awareness.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more about this.
It's about simply noticing those thoughts, even the bad ones, without judgment. You know Osho, modern Tantra teacher.
Of course. Yeah.
He describes it like shining a light in a dark room.
Ooh, I like that. You don't fight the dark, you just illuminate it, and it disappears. So how do we turn on the light in our own minds?
So Osho actually talks about this simple but surprisingly powerful practice from Tilopa's Song of Mahamudra. It's called the looking without seeing technique.
Right, right. I remember reading about that. Is that where we're just observing our thoughts without getting like hooked by them?
Exactly. And it's not some esoteric meditation thing either. This is something we can practice all day long, in our everyday lives.
Okay, yeah. Tell me more about how looking without seeing actually works. What am I actually doing?
Okay, so imagine you're looking out a window, right? You could zero in on one specific thing, a bird, a tree, whatever.
Or you could just kind of let your gaze wander, taking the whole scene without fixating on any one thing.
Yes, exactly. And with looking without seeing, we're bringing that same kind of open, spacious attention to our thoughts and feelings.
Okay, so I do that sometimes when my mind's wandering. It's like I'm letting my awareness just float around. Is that similar?
Very similar. We're practicing becoming the observer
Instead of
getting swept away by every single thought,
Oh, I can see how that would be so helpful, especially with those thoughts that just seem to play on repeat in my head. Like, stop thinking about that embarrassing thing. Stop it. Okay, now I'm just thinking about it more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we practice this, looking without seeing, something really cool starts to happen. We start to notice the gaps between thoughts.
The gaps.
Yeah. Those spaces between the thoughts. And those are moments of pure awareness, of peace, of space.
I've honestly never really paid attention to those gaps before. But now that you mention it, I can sense that stillness, It's subtle, but it is there when my mind quiets down a bit.
Exactly. Those moments, those gaps between the thought clouds.
Yeah.
That's the sky of your true nature shining through.
Okay, yeah, that's making a lot of sense. But there's this other piece that Osho brings up that I found really fascinating and honestly a little intimidating.
You're talking about the power of thoughts, right?
Yes, like Tantra doesn't really try to sugarcoat it. Our thoughts have consequences, real world consequences, and not just in our own heads, but for the world around us. That's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's something that, a lot of spiritual traditions emphasize. Thoughts are things, they carry energy.
It's like those stories about people bending spoons with their minds or objects just spontaneously breaking when someone's directing like negative energy towards them. Is that all like hocus pocus or is there something more to it? I'm always curious about that kind of thing.
Well, Tantra would say there's something very real happening there. Those might seem like extreme examples, sure, but they highlight something really important. Every single thought contributes to this collective energy field around us.
Whoa, okay. That's a lot to process. So it's not just about like cleaning up my own mental clutter. It's realizing that we're all connected and we're all influencing each other with our thoughts constantly.
Yes. And that connection actually leads us to a really interesting question that we're going to explore after the break, which is what happens when we combine this awareness of thought with the focused energy of intention?
Ooh, okay. That's getting into some really exciting territory. Can't wait to dive into that with you after the break. All right, we're back. And wow, I'm still thinking about that last part. Are thoughts actually impacting the world around us? Wild.
It's a lot to take in, for sure, but it's also kind of empowering when you really think about it.
How so?
Well, Tantra suggests we're not just like these passive recipients of whatever thoughts our minds decide to throw at us.
We're not just along for the ride.
Exactly. We actually have way more agency than we realize.
Okay, so it's not just about noticing our thoughts. It's about realizing we have the power to actually do something with them.
Yes. And that's where intention comes in.
Intention.
Yeah, when we combine that awareness of our thoughts, remember those clouds passing through the sky with the focused energy of intention, that's where we can really make some magic happen.
Okay, hold on. I need to catch up here. Intention, so that's like what? Setting goals.
It can be, but it's more about aligning our thoughts, our emotions, even our actions with a clear purpose.
Yeah.
Like imagine you have this super powerful flashlight.
Yeah.
Just being aware of our thoughts, it's like having the flashlight. Intention is choosing where we point that beam.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. So instead of letting our thoughts steer us in whatever random direction they feel like going.
Exactly. It's about taking the wheel, deciding where we want to go and focusing our energy in that direction. But, and this is important, it's not about forcing outcomes or trying to control everything with like sheer willpower. Remember we were talking about how Tantra encourages us to be, what was it?
Loose and natural.
Right. Loose and natural. So how do we set intentions without getting into that controlling mindset? How do we work with the natural flow of things, not against it?
Because that's what I was thinking. How do we make sure it doesn't become this rigid thing?
It's a great question. And it's all about balance. Think of it like planting a garden. You can't just like force a seed to sprout, right?
Right.
But you can create the conditions that allow it to flourish. Good soil, sunlight, water. Intention's kind of like that. We're creating those optimal conditions within ourselves.
I like that analogy. So instead of desperately wishing for things to be different, we're creating fertile ground for those desires to like naturally manifest.
Exactly. And when it comes to dealing with challenges, because let's face it, they're going to come up, Tantra actually has some really interesting things to say about how we can use intention to navigate those rough waters a little more skillfully.
Okay, yes, more skillful navigation, please. I can always use some of that. What does Tantra say about dealing with challenges?
Well, Tantra points out that a lot of our suffering, and we all experience it, right? A lot of it comes from this clinging to things as they are, to our expectations, to our ideas about how things should be.
Oh my gosh, clinging is like my default setting, especially when things don't go according to plan. This isn't fair, or why is this happening to me? It should be different.
We've all been there. But imagine if, instead of resisting change or trying to force things to fit into our own little boxes.
For little boxes of expectations.
Exactly. Imagine if we used intention to actually embrace the natural flow of life.
So like instead of saying, this is not how it's supposed to be, I could ask myself, okay, what is here right now and what can I learn from it? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yes, exactly. You're totally getting it. By shifting our intention from resistance to acceptance, even just a little bit, we open ourselves up to these possibilities that we couldn't even see before.
Because we were so blinded by how we thought it should be.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's be real, it's not always easy to just let go of expectations, is it?
You're so right. And that's where that awareness practice that we were talking about earlier, that looking without seeing that, becomes so essential.
So the more aware we are, the more we can catch ourselves in those moments when we're clinging to an idea or resisting change.
Exactly. Awareness is like flipping on the lights so we can actually see what's really happening in our own minds. And once we see that clinging, that's when we have the power to choose.
The power to choose to let go.
Exactly.
So it's like awareness shows us the map, and intention is how we choose to navigate that terrain.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And the more we practice this, the more we can start to trust the process.
Yeah.
Even, and maybe especially, when things are difficult.
It's like instead of trying to micromanage every little thing, we can just set an intention and then trust that, the universe has our back.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to another really important point that Tantra emphasizes, which is the power of surrendering to the unknown.
Ooh, okay. That one always feels a little scary to me. Surrender is not exactly my default setting.
I hear you. It's not always easy. But let's go back to that sky and clouds analogy because it really fits here.
Right. The sky. And our thoughts are just clouds passing through.
Exactly. And just like the sky can't control which way the clouds move.
We can't control every single thing that happens in our lives.
Exactly. There are always going to be surprises, good ones and tough ones.
And when we resist those unexpected events, when we just dig in our heels and say, nope, this is not how it's supposed to be.
That's when we create suffering. It's like trying to swim upstream against a strong current. It's exhausting.
Oh, I feel that in my soul. So are you saying we should just let go and let the current take us wherever?
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
It's about surrendering to that current, trusting that there's a bigger intelligence at work.
Okay, that's a beautiful image, but realistically, how do we actually do that? How do we move from this place of control, which feels honestly kind of comfortable sometimes, to actually surrendering to something bigger than ourselves?
It starts by acknowledging that we don't have all the answers.
Even though our minds really, really want to believe that we do.
Oh, absolutely. Our minds love to think they're in control. But the truth is, we don't always know what's best for us. And sometimes the best thing we can do is admit that.
Wow, that is humbling, but also kind of freeing when you really think about it.
It really is. And as we cultivate that humility, that willingness to let go of our need to know and control everything, something really interesting happens. We start to open ourselves up to a deeper wisdom.
Something beyond our limited thinking minds.
Exactly. It's like we're tapping into something much larger than ourselves.
It's that trust, isn't it? That trust that the universe, or whatever you want to call it, really does have our back, even when we can't see the whole picture.
Yes. And that trust, that surrender, it's actually a vital part of what Tantra considers the path to awakening.
This is some deep stuff, but I feel like we're just getting started.
We are. And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore how all of this, the nature of mind, the power of intention, the importance of surrender, we're going to see how it all comes together. What does Tantra ultimately have to say about the path to true freedom and fulfillment?
I can't wait. We'll be right back after the break. All right, we are back, ready to bring all these Tantra insights together.
So we've covered a lot of ground, huh? Like how our minds can trick us into thinking there's something they're not, and how we can use awareness and intention to kind of navigate the thought jungle a little more skillfully.
Right, and then there's this whole idea of surrendering to the flow of life instead of clinging to those expectations we have. Not always easy.
Definitely not my default setting, but hey, we're learning. So how does Tantra kind of weave all these threads together? What's the ultimate goal here? What does it say about finding, true freedom and fulfillment?
So in the Song of Mahamudra, Tilopa points to a state called Buddhahood.
Buddhahood. Okay, so not about levitating on a mountaintop somewhere.
Not exactly, no. Although that would be pretty cool. Right. Sign me up. But I'm guessing it's more about like waking up to who we really are, beyond all the mental noise and chatter.
You got it. It's about recognizing that we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions, we're not even our experiences, really.
We are that vast awareness.
Yes, that's always present, witnessing it all.
The sky, not the clouds.
Exactly. And when we can tap into that awareness fully, without the filter of our usual thought chatter, without getting rained on,
then what? What happens?
That's when we access this really profound sense of freedom. We're no longer constantly reacting to every little thing our minds throw at us.
It's like we're stepping out of the audience and realizing, oh wait, this is just a movie. I'm not actually in it.
Yes. Perfect analogy. And from that vantage point, we can see things so much more clearly.
And make choices from a different place.
Exactly. From a place of wisdom, of compassion, rather than just, reacting out of habit or fear.
Okay, that is definitely something to aim for. But how do we cultivate that level of awareness, that Buddhahood you're talking about? Is it something we have to earn or achieve through some crazy spiritual practice?
That's the beautiful thing about it. It's not about achieving some distant goal. Tantra says, hey, this awareness, this is already here. It's your true nature. You're already soaking in it, whether you realize it or not.
So it's more about remembering than achieving.
Exactly. And any practice that helps us tap into that stillness, that spacious awareness, that's a step in the right direction.
So it could be meditation, it could be yoga, conscious breathing. Yeah.
Or even just taking a walk in nature, really paying attention.
It's about bringing that quality of presence into every aspect of our lives, not just when we're sitting on a meditation cushion trying to force our minds to be quiet.
Yes, exactly. And as we do this, something really cool starts to happen. We start to sense the interconnectedness of everything.
Like we're all part of this bigger web.
Exactly. We start to realize that this separateness we feel, this me versus the world mentality, it's actually another illusion.
It's like we start to feel that, we are all one truth that's talked about so much.
Yes. And from that realization, from that sense of interconnectedness, naturally arises a deep well of compassion.
Compassion.
Yes, not just for ourselves, which is important, but for all beings.
So it's not just about personal enlightenment or escaping the difficulties of the world. It's about waking up to our connection with literally everything.
Okay, that's beautiful. And also a little daunting when you really let it sink in.
It's both. It's profound and challenging and also incredibly freeing.
Before we wrap up, I have one more question for you. We've been talking about how powerful our thoughts are and how we're essentially, co-creating our reality with every thought.
Right, we're planting seeds with every thought.
So does that mean that we're responsible for absolutely everything that happens to us, even the difficult stuff?
Woof, that's the million-dollar question, right? And to be honest, it's a question that's been pondered by philosophers and spiritual teachers for centuries.
So no easy answers. Not exactly. It's important to remember that Tantra doesn't necessarily say we're solely responsible for everything that happens. There's a lot at play. Our past actions, the choices of other people, plain old chance.
Okay, so it's not about blame.
No, definitely not about blame or guilt-tripping ourselves when things are tough. What Tantra does emphasize is our power to respond to whatever life throws our way.
We always have a choice.
Yes, we always have a choice in how we react, how we interpret those experiences, even when they're painful.
So even when things are really tough, we can still choose how we meet that experience, how we let it shape us.
Exactly. And in that way, we are active participants in creating our reality. We may not be able to control everything that happens to us, but we can decide how we relate to it.
That's such a powerful reminder, and I think a really good place to leave it for today. So as you move through your day, what will you choose to focus your awareness on? How will you practice surrendering to the flow of life? What intentions will you plant? That's something to reflect on. Until next time, keep diving deep.